Michael, how are
Hey,
you doing,
Ricky.
sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited about tonight. We've got a lot we're going to talk about.
Yes.
I enjoyed it the first season, so I really look forward to Andor season 2. We're going to talk about that tonight. And
What? And wait, what? Andor season?
Andor.
I
Well, I
thought we
mean
were talking about
Andor.
the
And
Mandalorian season 3,
I thought
episode
that's
3.
I thought they only had 2 episodes in the Mandalorian, and they went right into the end of Andor. I'm
Ma-
confused. Are we
I think maybe we should talk about it more in a little bit.
okay?
It's the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Wow, we let the kids back out in the closet again. That's awesome.
Nice.
Man. So
Andor season 2.5.
yes, it's pretty
It's nice to
awesome.
see. It's nice to see the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian season series every once in a while.
I know they just got Boba Fett, didn't they? Boy,
Oh yes, they got Boba
man,
Fetted.
yeah. Well, anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's start off with some nerdy news. We have a few things tonight, don't we, sir?
Yeah. So Dungeons and Dragons released a new clip of the movie this week.
Yeah.
The Honor Among Thieves movie. I don't know how much you've seen about the movie yet, but interesting is that in this new clip, we see another group of adventurers who looks vaguely familiar.
Oh yeah.
They are it is a live action version of the 80s cartoon group from the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon
Well,
from
that's cool.
1983. I thought that was a great
That's pretty
callback.
cool. Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Definitely, this movie is definitely going to have a lot of humor in it. Now,
Yeah.
my guess is there is going to be a lot of in jokes like
Yes.
this
Yeah.
throughout the movie. So we'll have to see what the rest of that brings. Another thing is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. As of this recording, came out this past Friday, and it, of all things, it did take the box office this week. This weekend, number one is the expectation, but it fell a little short of what they expected. They were really only predicting it to make about 35 million domestically for the weekend, but it looks like it's on target to only hit about 30 million. So kind of low, and that's a bit lower than the previous Shazam movie as well. But it only made 53 million on its initial outing. But I think there's a good opportunity worldwide for them to get their money back on this one, but it's not going to be a home run for DC.
No, I don't. Probably not.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes is giving it a hard time. The critics are only giving it a 53%, but the audience seemed to be liking it. The audience is giving it a rating of 87, so that's not too bad. I mean, I was hoping that it was going to do a little better than it did, but I've heard good things from people who've seen it. So I'm still hopeful that it's a good movie. On a more sad note, Lance Reddick, who many may be familiar, Lance Reddick passed away this week. And Lance has done a lot of work. Lance he's one of the stars from The Wire. He's been in the John Wick movies. He's the voice actor as well. Did the Destiny video games, and he's also playing Thomas Wayne in the Batman Unburied podcast series. So,
interesting.
Sad to lose him. He was only 60 years old. Had a lot of things he could have done, but passed away this week.
Yep. Very talented. Yeah.
But that's all the nerdy news I have. Did you have anything else?
I had nothing else to add. Like I said, it's kind of a slow week for news, but I don't have anything. So I mean, only thing I have is that next thing we have to do.
Well, maybe we should do some stupid news.
Okay.
It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
Well, I mean, starting off, Ricky, we've got another wild tale to add to the books. And no, I'm not talking about the sequel of No, I'm not talking about the sequel to Cocaine Bear, but it's just as strange. A real life several cat has been exposed to cocaine in Cincinnati.
Hey, this is great, man.
A cocaine cat.
Yes, apparently, according to animal control officials, the medium-sized wild cat known as a Seville cat, is tested positive for cocaine after being rescued in January. The cat, named Emery, was rescued after escaping from a vehicle during police stop and was climbing a tree. Talk about getting high.
Nice.
Nice. When the shelter staff ran some tests, not only they confirmed that Emery was indeed a Seville, which is illegal to own in Ohio, but also
wow.
that he's been exposed to cocaine, which
So they had an illegal cat on cocaine in their car.
Yes.
And during a police stop, the cat escaped.
Yes.
So strange.
I know. But cocaine, it's a heck of a drug. So yes. So now I know what you're thinking. How does a cat accidentally consume cocaine? Well, the shelter is still investigating the case, and they can't say for sure how it happened, but they're not ruling out the possibility that it was an accident.
Okay.
The good news is Emery is now under the care of the Cincinnati Zoo, and he's eating well and moving around in his new habitat, indoor and outdoors. The zoo explained that while several are expert hunters in their natural habitat, they don't make great pets. They need vast amounts of exercise, specialized care, and tend to mark their territory. And let's be honest, nobody has any time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And that's right. And all joking aside, it's great to hear Emery is doing well in the Cincinnati Zoo. Is hoping to provide him with a permanent home in their cat ambassador program. Let's just hope Emery stays away from cocaine, just like Nancy Reagan would.
Just say no.
That's right. And unlike the next cat, Tony the Tiger. That's right. Oh, right. Well, there's, Canada is in the news again. We've talked about Canada in the past, and it's always, their legislation is always ahead of everyone else.
They had the moon law, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, Canadians now have the right to give the bird. That's right.
Wait, what?
Giving your neighbor the middle finger may not be polite, but is protected as part of a person's freedom of expression under the Canadian Constitution.
Somebody took the time to write this as a law.
In a 26-page decision by Judge Denis Gastasto of French-speaking province of Quebec, he dismissed a case against a man accused of harassing his neighbor in Montreal suburb. To be abundantly clear, it is not a crime to give anyone the finger, he said in a ruling dated 24th of February.
Took him 26 pages to say you can flip somebody off,
Exactly.
And it's not illegal.
That's right. Flipping the proverbial bird is a God-given charter enshrined. That's what it says here. Is a God-given charter enshrine right that belongs to every red-blooded Canadian, he added, referring to the Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That's okay.
Fascinating.
The accused, Neil Epstein, a teacher and the father of two, had been arrested in May by police for threatening and flipping off his neighbor.
Hey, neighbor. Hey, neighbor.
Anyway, I don't know where that came from. But anyhow, the gesture may not be civil, it may not be polite, it may not be gentlemanly. Nevertheless, it does not trigger criminal liability, the judge ruled. The judge added that despite common vernacular, cases aren't actually thrown out, but in this matter, the court is inclined to actually take the file and throw it out the window. At last, he said, the courtrooms of Montreal courthouse does not have windows. And that is...
Hey, neighbor. Hey, neighbor.
The stupid news.
This has been the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
It's no offense to Mr. Rogers, and all he was doing was holding up the Canadian flag as a patriot, even though I don't think Mr. Rogers is from Canada, but
I don't think so, but
he wants to be everybody's neighbor. You should put that one on your podcast. I don't think that would cross over very well, but anyhow.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. We're talking about
today
the Mandalorian, or we're going to talk about Andor tonight. I don't know, but
this
seriously,
was such a weird episode. So before we go into it, we do need to give our spoiler alert, and here it goes. Spoiler alert.
Yes,
this was such a strange episode.
Really was, and I don't know how much time we have because there's so much to kind of, I don't know, just to kind of decipher here.
It was such a long episode too.
It was very
like I think on my computer it said it was going to be like 55 minutes.
Yeah,
and like the last 5 minutes of it is credits, but it's a 50-minute episode. That is really long for The Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was really surprised that how long it was. It was almost like it was a Mandalorian. We kid about Andor, and it was a cool, funny meme out there that we posted on our site. But it was like maybe 8 or 15 minutes of The Mandalorian, and probably, the meat of it was talking about Dr. Pershing and and the other lady who was a formal communication officer for Moff Gideon. And then we had the ending. It was really odd. We talked about last week.
It was like we had two separate episodes of two shows. Like we had episodes of two shows, and we split one in half and put it at the beginning and the ending.
You know how we talked about last week, how we were concerned that, it was awfully, the story went to the redemption of Din a lot faster than we thought it was going to.
Yes.
And then the next thing we know, here we are on Coruscant talking about Dr. Pershing and in the whole story, basically the lead up of cloning, which we were talking about how we were kind of not wanting to go that direction. I don't know.
We're totally going that direction.
We're totally going in that direction. So it's totally,
this whole series, or well, at least this season, well, technically the whole series
has to be
all building up to the sequel trilogy. It's all setting. All we're doing is setting things up for what we've already seen in a sequel trilogy that a lot of people don't like.
Exactly, which I think is. Yeah,
I don't even know. It's kind of funny. It's a little annoying.
Yeah,
and it there's this whole subplot going on. Have you been keeping up with the Bad Batch?
I have gone to probably 4 episodes, and for some reason, I have kind of stopped from there. So I haven't been keeping
Okay.
up with them.
Well, so in the Bad Batch, it is all revolving around what to do with the clones.
Oh, yeah. No, okay. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And like there's this whole political side of
Yeah.
phasing the clones out and starting up a whole new
Yes.
military that is drafted or that is volunteer, and decommissioning the clones. And
Yeah,
what do you
exactly.
like? There's a whole episode that
Episode
deals
just to,
with the
yeah, so it
politics
deals with
of it.
that. Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
just
Which is
I'm just going,
fascinating to me because that's
it
that's a part of the story that really has not been explained, at least not in a live action. There've
yeah.
been some books written about it, but not as far as on film.
Right. And we even see in that series, Lama Su, is that the one? One of the Camino cloners gets
Yes.
taken by the Empire.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's just so much cloning going
Yeah.
on.
Exactly.
Star Wars is
Well, I
just
mean, yeah.
cloning around.
I mean, before we get to the main meat of it, which is Coruscant and what goes on there, of course, the last time we saw Din and Bo-Katan, they came out of the waters, the rivers
Yes.
of redemption,
Yeah.
and
The living waters. That's what they call it.
living waters. So we all remember the scene where she pulls Din out,
Yeah.
and on the way up, she sees we all, I think we all believe and agree that it's the Mythosaurus,
Yes.
is the symbol of the Mandalorian people. I did not realize that there is a prophecy that says when they return,
Yes.
Mandalore will claim its greatness again, and in the words. So
I hadn't realized that either.
yeah, so in that, the questions is because Bo-Katan asks Din whether he saw something, and
Mhm.
in the caverns in the death, and he said no, and she never said anything to him. So there's a lot of questions there. Why? And is it that Bo-Katan is struggling to come to terms with what she saw because she's really
Mhm.
was never a believer? Is she
Mhm.
trying to decide whether or not she wants to share the new secret with Din because they're competitors for the throne of Mandalore?
Mhm.
She might, you know, she doesn't find the ancient ways as ridiculous as she once was. So she's, coming. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, because Bo-Katan is basically a secular Mandalorian.
Yes.
So in this,
That's
as
a good way.
far
That is
as,
a good way to put it. That is a
yeah,
good way to put it. She doesn't
so
believe in the
yeah,
old ways. She's not one of the faithful,
yeah.
but she's patriotic.
And and I think seeing that creature could have shaked her a bit
It
and making
could.
her could.
It could.
And
And even at the end,
yes.
do we want to skip to the end?
Yeah, because let's
I mean,
do that. I mean, it's just
even more.
yeah,
I was gonna say even more so. The armorer, tests the waters
yeah,
that Din brought back, and says, this is proof you did go to the mines and you did bathe in the water, and
yeah.
you are redeemed now.
Mm-hmm.
And Bo had told her, yes, I saw it happen. He went into the waters and he sank to the bottom, and I jumped in to save him.
Yeah,
And then she says, and you are
yeah,
redeemed
yeah.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now, where does that put her? She is this person who's never believed, and now she's been redeemed
Yeah.
by this
Well,
court.
now are we talking? We talked about in the beginning where I thought there was going to be this struggle on both sides. Where
Mm-hmm.
Dan is trying to somehow they both come to come to their customs. And and at first I thought, well, Din eventually finds, that he doesn't have to wear his helmet. And then here is Bo-Katan coming to the point where she doesn't have to slay someone to have the dark saber to lead. That
Yes.
was what we talked about. But this is almost feeling like it's going maybe in a different direction, where Bo-Katan is struggling within her own faith and trying to figure out what she wants to do. Does she want to be part of this watch? This clan. What's the name of it? The
Coven.
the
Covert.
Covert.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
the term they use.
So I think you can't see behind the mask, but she acts very well. That it's almost like there's a lot that she's having to process in all of this.
Yeah, I think she's conflicted.
Yeah, she saw the Mythosaurus. Yeah, she is abandoned. She's a woman without anyone to lead. Plus, since we're already going to go that direction, there was carpet bombed her castle,
Yes.
and so
now
it
the
was
Empire
wiped out.
Empire destroyed Mandalore, her home, and
Yes.
now they've destroyed her new home.
Yes.
So
which is
where
funny,
does she go now?
Exactly. And so now here she is with these group of people at the very end, who have now welcomed her, and everyone's patting her on the shoulder, and she feels a sense of family. So there's going to be, I think there's a lot that's going to happen in this.
I think so too. And I think we're going to see another power struggle.
I do too.
One that we haven't discussed.
Yeah.
Because there was an interesting shot. It's so fascinating to me. How do you read the emotions of people wearing a full helmet?
I know.
But is it Vizsla? The guy that Din fought, they fought in the
yeah, he was the big guy. He was
they fought in the Book of Boba Fett. They battled for leadership.
Yeah.
And Din won.
Yeah.
But there's a brief shot of him in this episode.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's not really cool with either one of them being redeemed.
I think part of it too, if we kind of go back, and it goes back to season 1, and there's always been this kind of this feud. You can sense it, okay? And it's like I said, it's really interesting how these actors are able to convey these emotions through these masks. And I think he is a heavy gunner. I think that's the same guy we're thinking of.
Yes.
And I think that as far as he's concerned, Din should not be redeemed. And I think part of it is jealousy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think part of it too, he was giving the special armor, that he felt like he should received. And I think there's a lot of jealousy and just, it's almost like, why should my brother come back and have all this, have all this praise, and I've been faithful this whole time, and he went away. And just because he went in some water, he came back. And now he brought someone else who was, a secular person who didn't even believe in our faith. And she comes back. And now here's another person I might have to contend with. And so I really do. I think that is, I didn't think about that, but I think you're totally correct. I think that's an interesting thought.
Yeah. I think that is going to be the action. Now that we've gotten this far, I feel like that is actually the plot for this season.
Yeah.
I think that battle for struggle is going to be the real battle for the season.
Yeah.
I honestly, I think this whole thing with Coruscant and with redemption definitely is part of the storyline here. Yeah. Because jumping back now, our Andor season 1.5.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is not exactly Andor. It just feels that way because we're dealing with Coruscant and we're dealing with Imperials and who are kind of joining the Alliance,
which
or
is,
the
yeah,
Republic, but they're kind of outcasts. They're kind of lower class citizens.
which
Um,
is interesting because, and we'll maybe talk about this a little bit later, but I have a beef with the New Republic, and there's several things that to me is hypocritical. As you probably, if you watch this episode, there's a lot of hypocrisy, and so there's several things that we may get into. I know there's some more meat to it,
well,
but
okay, so since you mentioned it,
as I mentioned, yeah,
since you mentioned it, this is another thing that points directly to the sequel trilogy,
yes, yes.
because that group of the Republic had spun off because they felt like the New Republic wasn't going the right direction.
But that makes sense. Okay, well,
So
we're there.
so
Let's
we're
now it's
building
time to talk about it.
yeah, so we're building up this idea that, is the Republic really good? Which is
I think
exactly what the clones were dealing with in the Bad Batch, because the clones are going, are we as the Empire really good?
well, and the thing is there's so much politics involved and in some of the books, and it's funny because some of these books that was set off the side, the legend,
Yeah.
I think there was one that was Aftermath was a
Oh
book,
yeah, yeah.
and it talked about what happened between talks about how the war is not over. It's between Return of the Jedi and, of
Yeah.
course, coming up to the sequels. So you can see already going down to Coruscant and to see just the interaction. It's very sterile as far as I'm concerned. It's a very kind of a sterile environment. Very much. If you read in Timothy Vaughn's, which was Heirs of the Empire,
Heir to the Empire.
there was a scene in there where Han Solo was talking to Princess Leia, and they were there. And he said in a quote, he said, and this is me, I remember reading this, and this just came to my mind, it's that he thought it was a big mistake for the capital to be on Coruscant again, and that it needed to be someplace else because he felt like there is still some darkness and some remnants of the Empire. And Han of all people was really concerned about that. And so I think there's some stuff there to it. I think there's some stuff that became canon in that. Now, whether or not the whole thing is canon, I don't know. I thought it was a good book. I think it should. I think slowly you're seeing Star Wars recanting some stuff, bringing in some legend stuff into the fold. You're slowly seeing that happening. So
you said it. I actually just watched somebody else's breakdown, and they actually mentioned Heir to the Empire, that Timothy Zahn series, saying that it feels like they're trying to bring some of that information back into canon because cloning was a big part of that.
Yes.
Cloning force sensitive clones was a big part of that series.
Yeah.
So all of that is fascinating, and all of it is eventually going to somehow lead to one of two places. We get Thrawn, and we get the sequel trilogy.
Yes, I totally agree with that. In one of the scenes where they talked about during the and I can't believe it has to be in the first 15 minutes, I think, when they returned from Mandalore.
Yeah, probably.
As they were coming back to go to Bo-Katan's headquarters, her fortress, or castle. All suddenly they're out of the blue, they're being attacked by these advanced TIE fighters, or I don't know if they're advanced TIE fighters.
Interceptors, I think is what
Interceptors. They call them. Well, at first they take out a couple of them, and that was fine. Then all suddenly you see this massive amount of fighters coming their direction. And I have a feeling, I don't remember if it was Din or Bo-Katan was saying that this doesn't seem like a remnants. This doesn't seem like this is, you look at that and you're thinking to yourself, okay, this can't be just a fraction. I mean, that's a lot of fighters. We're not talking about, maybe a two or three. I mean, this was a whole squadron coming in. So you think to yourself, where do they come from? Well, they must have come from a ship or Star Destroyer. I mean, there's some things that are happening, and
Well,
even
and
was
you mentioned something important there. Where did they come from? Very specifically in canon, interceptors don't have hyperdrive.
yeah,
So they had to come from somewhere else.
yeah,
So the question is where and who?
yeah, yeah,
And that's the big question I have
yeah,
is this leftover from Moff Gideon's group, or, and this is hinted at
yeah,
in the series
yeah,
in the a little bit later in this episode,
yeah.
has Moff Gideon escaped and reassembled his group?
Well, I think Moff Gideon, from my understanding, he even mentioned he served someone greater than himself. So this wasn't as if, it seemed more
Hmm.
organized, because I don't even remember if it was episode 1 or episode 2. He answered. I thought he bowed down to someone else and answered to someone else, and I can't remember. Put your comments below if for some reason I'm misrepresenting it, but for some reason I thought Moff Gideon reported to a higher
Mm.
chain of command. But part of my thing is that you see that the presence of the Imperials in the galaxy is a lot larger, and goes back to we talked about Admiral Thrawn. We talked about this. He
And that
could
could
be,
be the key here. We could make Thrawn the big bad, and Gideon is working for Thrawn.
because he was really big in the era of the Empire. I mean,
Hmm.
he was the main baddie. He was the
Yeah.
one that, because keep in mind, in the book, he was the Emperor had him saved. He had him out in the Outer Rim, so they
Hmm.
were out in the Outer Rim forever. Well,
Yeah.
in the couple of Mandalorians, and I can't remember the great actor. He's an Asian actor. He played one of the Republic fighters, or
Oh yeah,
actually
yeah.
girls, and he mentions that there's some things happening in the Outer Rim that we don't know about. And also, he mentioned in this trailer that for season 3, there was a snippet of him saying that too. He says there's something going on in the Outer Rim, and we need to know more about it. Uh,
Hmm.
and so he even senses what's going on, and he's one of the patrol. I guess one of the New Republic.
Right.
And this is what it goes back to, because it's kind of hard. It's kind of like policing. It's like,
Yes.
and the one thing I notice, and we'll go to Croissant and we'll talk about some of the other plots. But right now, watching this episode brings up so many things that that we can see the fall of the New Republic in just some of the things that we've
Oh
seen
yeah.
already.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have clueless aristocrats who,
Yes.
as far as they say, this is Empire, Rebels, New Republic. I can't keep track of them, and it's
Right.
almost like they don't. They're in the comforts of their own home.
Mhm.
Kind of in a historian, it's almost like what happened between World War I to World War II. There's this a sense of, we want to get, we hate war, and we're going to decommission all our soldiers and all our equipment.
Mhm.
And this is what's kind of happening here. They have an accord where they start decommissioning their fleet,
Mhm.
which is, in my mind, is a big mistake. And
Well, and that is the reason for the sequel trilogy. The
yeah,
sequel trilogy, they talk about we should never have broken the fleet up, and
yeah,
that's why they went and started their own little extra rebellion.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's almost like, yeah, I mean, again, you had, well, I mean, was led to the destruction. I mean, spoiler alert, the destruction of Croissant,
Yeah.
I mean, and just because they were blind, they had their heads in the sand. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot happening in this, and unfortunately, unfortunately, there's a lot of ignorance in the New Republic, and you know, and the other thing too, I noticed too throughout this thing is that droids had a bigger part in the New Republic, and we'll talk about that a little more. Just
Mm.
some roles where I thought, you should have had human beings taking up some of these responsibilities, but I think we'll back off now and we'll start talking about a little bit about the meat of it, which is Dr. Pershing,
Yes.
uh, and so I kind of, and of course, he still believes in cloning, but
Yes.
he thinks in his mind, he's convinced that it's could be for the greater good of the New Republic. Uh,
Yes.
and
And he thought it was for the greater good with the Empire.
yes,
He's
yes.
always thought his work was for good. And
Well, I
he's
mean, yeah,
convinced. He just is convinced people used it for the wrong things.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, we talked about how they wanted to Grogu, and I hate using the M word, but I think part
Yes.
of it is you know, that's why they went after Grogu. That's why they
Yes.
wanted to take whatever, his blood, his samples, whatever they are that's
Hmm.
within him that has the metachlorians. I'm saying it. And so, and then of course, talking about how it can be cloned to someone else. And they mentioned it. I'm trying to think of, um, a supreme leader, supreme leader Snoke's,
Hmm.
which from understanding he was a clone. From
I
my
have never
understanding,
I've never read that, but that has always been my assumption that he was
yes,
some form of a clone. Whether he was a clone of the Emperor or not is a little
that's true.
fuzzy in my head. But
That's
I just
true.
kind of assumed when we first saw him, I didn't assume he was a clone. I have no
Yeah.
clue what he was. Now looking back, since everything is about cloning
Yes,
and
exactly.
everything is the whole purpose was to clone the Emperor, it makes me think that Snoke was a failed Emperor clone.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember. Was it in the Obi-Wan series? There was a scene where they went into this. I think it was Obi-Wan, where they went into an Imperial headquarters out in the middle of nowhere, and there was this cloning chamber, and you had all these Jedi's that were captured or killed or
Hmm.
suspicious, and
Right.
you had this one. There was one photo shot that looks like either some kind of creature or species that looked like Snoke's. And I know that was all over the internet. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But a lot of people were pointing at it
Mm.
as an Easter egg for the sequels. So I don't know, but it's interesting throughout this whole thing. It's all about, again, some type of redemption, and it's really, we're talking a lot about the amnesty. I mean, really, it comes to
Hmm.
we talk about the amnesty, bringing in ex imperial
Hmm.
soldiers and indoctrinate them into the New Republic, which this is kind of an ethical thing here, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting.
Talk like literally re-education camps. Literally
Yes.
re-education
Yes.
camps. They put them they only call them by their numbers, not by
By their
names.
number, which is a nod back to the Clone Wars.
Yes. And then we the thing that I think is even more bizarre in this whole
Yeah.
thing is his job is to like go through this information and basically destroy it, which is literally the job of the main character from the dystopian novel 1984. He
Hmm.
literally goes
Hmm.
in, he changes he changes things and then destroys the original, and that's
Yeah.
his job, is to go in and
Yeah.
make things use set rewrite them in new speak, and you destroy the original.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so it's just it definitely is giving us this is one of those, we're going to point you to the idea that the Republic isn't as good as you all hoped.
It's not the utopia
No.
exactly. It's not. Well, and that's what I think is interesting is that throughout this, we have a return, and the return of the Moff Gideon, which is communications officer Eli Kane. Eli
Yes.
Kane, she returns, and she's a part of this group who is, part of this program for former
Yep.
Imperials to the New Republic. So there's other people there, and she gains the trust of Pershing, and throughout
Mm-hmm.
you see this friendship, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
very convincing, and we still don't know what's coming out of that.
All I'm saying is she's got a red ice cream pop.
Oh man, that's it. She's a Sith. She's a Sith.
She's got to be the bad
Easter
guy.
egg. There's
She's
the
eating
Easter egg.
she's eating red stuff. Oh, and she also only she prefers the red wafers.
That's right.
So she is a bad guy. Just
She's a bad
straight
guy.
up.
So
She's a bad guy.
That's it.
You don't even have to discuss.
Don't even have to. I mean, of course, at the point where at the point where she tries to fry Pershing's brain, I guess that's. But,
that kind of puts it. Yeah, it is interesting. She is this character that is, she's, post Imperial, part of Moff Gideon's crew, re-educated, and they put her on the police force.
yes.
So now she's working with the Republic to find people that are not really rehabilitated.
Yeah.
But in reality, she's probably up to something more sinister. And my question is she trying to work her way up so she can free Moff Gideon?
Yeah.
Or is she working for Moff Gideon because he's already escaped?
Yeah.
Or is she up to something completely different? Because so far, we've had 3 episodes, and my description of what should happen in the next few episodes has been completely derailed every time.
Oh, yeah. Same here. Same here. As soon as I think I have the right direction and I know what's going to happen next, it's like, okay, this is totally taking a different turn than what I expected. Mm-hmm. And I find it interesting also too, and we don't have an image of it for those, of course, those who are listening, it doesn't matter, but there was a scene where Dr. Pershing was speaking. I think it was an opera house where he was speaking to other people, and he talks about the amnesty program. He kind of talks about, he talks about cloning and DNA.
Yes.
He talks about it.
So I just, while we were talking, I did a little quick research. Okay. He talks about segmenting DNA to make clones. So really quick, I looked up the Snoke thing. Is Snoke a clone? And they say Snoke is a strand cast, which is a genetically engineered clone species. It's like he's not any species. He's cloned from multiple species, which is exactly what Pershing is talking about in this scene.
Yes. Very good find. Yeah.
So he is literally talking about what will go to create Snoke.
Okay. My question is, during this, let me see here. During this, Ellie or Eli, is it Eli or Eli? I think Eli Kane. I'm gonna say Eli.
I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
I don't know either.
Aaliyah.
Elia. We'll say Elia. So anyway, Elia is sitting with somebody in the audience, and we don't know who that is. I didn't catch
that.
Oh yeah, if you look, yes, she's sitting in the audience with someone, and it looks like an important official. She's sitting right next to him. You know that they're associated somehow, and I wish I could remember, but I think a comment was made. They don't really address the issue who she was sitting next to, but you know that the two of them had some type of association with one another. You
Well,
might.
and this is the same. Um, are you aware that this is the same opera house that where Palpatine tells Anakin, "Are you familiar with the story of Darth Plagueis?"
Yes. Yes.
It's the same place.
Yes. So there, and I don't think that's by coincidence there, but
Yep.
no,
Purpose.
no. So, but yeah, I'm curious who that person is, because it was never explained, and so I think somehow that person will. I don't know whether he was a uh, person of the New Republic, if he was if he was some type of agent for the New Republic, and he was
Mhm.
using her to, I want you to keep an eye on him because he's, you think about it, Dr. Pershing is pretty dangerous if they have the
Oh yeah.
Accords, which is Croson Accords that says, there's no more cloning. And
Hmm.
yes, it's a Coruscant Accords, and that's where they did away with cloning. The New Republic has to keep an eye on this guy. So
Hmm.
is she? But that makes you wonder if she is actually with the New Republic. If she's actually a an agent, why in the end it seemed like she tried to kill him? That's the question.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is the triple agent kind of thing.
I think so
You,
too.
she I think she is definitely not on the side of the Republic.
I
I
agree with
just
that.
I'm not quite sure whose side she's really on.
I
This is where I think she could be she could be an agent of Moff Gideon, as simple as that.
It could be. It could be that.
I'm just a little unclear as to where her loyalty lies
I just don't think
or
Moff
why
Gideon
she's
is.
doing it.
I just don't think Moff Gideon is going to be the big baddie. I just don't think Moff Gideon, he'll have a part in it. And of course I've been wrong up till now, but I don't think he'll have a part, but I just feel like there is someone above him. And and
Mhm.
I don't particularly, for some reason, I don't feel like Moff Gideon has escaped. I feel like he probably will break out some way, but she may be there to answering a higher chain of command. I don't know.
That is possible. This all could lead to Thrawn, which would make sense.
Yes.
This could all be pointing to what's going to happen in Ahsoka, which we assume that's going to be a Thrawn,
Yes.
story. So it could be that she is trying to get in a position where she can um, help Moff Gideon escape. But you're right. I don't feel like Moff Gideon is the ultimate bad guy. I feel like he's the bad guy for now. That's going to
Yes.
get thrown in the trash later. Um,
Yes.
I'm just not sure where. Yeah, I'm not convinced. I know where her loyalty really lies, or she could be some really weird, messed up, somebody in the Republic who
Yeah.
just doesn't like the idea that we're rehabilitating any Imperials.
Uh, their version of Section 8.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know,
you
dude.
know,
It's so many things that could, like, and yes, Pershing could have, like, what he's trying to do could bring good. What he's trying to do could be used for evil. What I'm super confused about is why does it matter that she killed him?
yeah.
Um, Also, as a side note, he is in that machine about
Hmm.
to have his brain fried. There is a Mon Calamari standing next to him, and he says, "It was a trap."
Oh, you were getting. I was getting. Yes, I'm glad you went there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I honestly, the first time I saw a on this episode, I saw the calamari, and I was thinking, surely somebody's going to say it's a trap, and then sure enough, he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this machine that everybody's calling a mind flayer uh,
Mhm.
is mentioned it is foreshadowed way early in the episode, because some of the guys, and this is another one of those, is the Republic really as good as we think it is?
Yeah.
One of the Imperial reformers says that Moff Gideon escaped, and he said, "Nah, he didn't escape. That's just what the Republic wants you to think. They actually hooked him up to a mind flayer,"
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
another one of those. The
Yeah,
Republic,
exactly.
one guy is the Republic isn't as good as isn't as capable because they let him escape. The other guy is,
Yeah.
no, the Republic's just lying to you. They're really just as bad as the Empire was.
Mhm.
They're, so that's another one of those. I don't know. They definitely don't want anybody to be the good guy in this show.
Well, definitely not. No. Well, I mean, and it does. I mean, something has to break down. There's an enemy within the New Republic, and of course,
Yes.
there's a breakdown in their system. I mean, I find it interesting too. Throughout the show, I mean, you think about it. You have basically, I call him a parole officer. You have a robot who
Hmm.
asks basic questions. Do you have any negative thoughts towards the New
Yeah.
Republic? And okay, well, this is not like
Do
Blade
you
Runner where
love Big Brother? That's
yeah,
a
it's not like Blade Runner where Harrison Ford is looking in their eyes and can find out whether or not they're telling the truth or not.
yeah.
It's I mean, and that's the other thing, where is I thought to myself, they're putting these, and I'm geeking out here, but they're putting these droids in some of these positions where you need the human touch. You need the
Yes.
someone with intuition and asking the right questions. And so it just seems very sterile. And it seems
Hmm.
very strange to me that here's a republic depending on all these droids to do some of these important intelligence and keeping tracks of these former Imperials. And, there's really no way of finding out, whether or not they're actually,
Hmm.
for or against the New Republic. But that's
Yeah.
the other thing too, is the indoctrination that makes you go, well, okay, didn't the Imperials do something similar?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hypocrisy in with the New
Yes.
Republic, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
yeah,
And that is definitely where they're guiding us to.
yeah. I'm. My question is: are we going to spend more time in Coruscant, or are we going to go back to some more of? I mean, how much of Andor are we going to have throughout this show? And
See,
I don't say that, and I don't say that as a bad thing. I'm just saying, how much of more politics of Coruscant, and you know,
I
I
don't
mean, what's
know.
going to
We
happen
we got what, 2 or 3 episodes of Mandalorian in Boba Fett.
exactly?
I can't imagine they're going to do more than 2 episodes on here, but I'm still confused as to what really is the purpose of destroying Pershing.
Yes,
Like she cranked it up. Like I'm thinking
yeah, she
he's not
did.
just going to forget her or just forget that she was set him up.
Yeah,
He's going to forget everything. Is it one of those are you killing him off so that he can't rat you out for the genetic things the
yeah,
bad genetic things that you did?
yeah.
Or are you killing him off so that the Republic won't learn cloning techniques? I'm
I am
not sure
confused.
what
Yeah,
the purpose of killing him off is,
yeah.
unless they were afraid he would spill the beans about some of the other work
Well,
some of
that's the only thing.
his work was used for.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I can think of is that, you know, is that they Well, I mean, and also too, maybe it's the New Republic. Maybe they see him as a threat when it comes to cloning. And she's like double agent, supposed to take him out, or has his memories actually been wiped? I mean, she had it at a high frequency, whatever you want to call it, and
Yeah.
so I mean, it's so I don't know. Well, I
Does
will.
it just take his re-education away, or does it make him a just, a slobbering idiot afterwards?
Like
I'm not
yeah,
sure I understand what will really become of him.
yeah,
Because if
same here.
if if he's if he's just a vegetable after this, then he's done. There's not really any purpose for his
Yes, no,
character anymore.
no, there's not.
If he just loses his re-education and
Yeah,
becomes loyal to the imperial ways, then
yeah,
he could be a useful pawn for her.
yeah,
But I don't, when he cranked up and the lights went from blue to red, I'm going vegetable.
yeah. I would think so. I think so. Well, we're going to find out is episode 4. So
I
I don't.
know.
On top of this, I don't have anything else. I knew this was going to be a long show because there was so much to dissect, and the
Where do you
whole
think we're going now? Because
man,
our original thought was it's going to take him, because it's 8 episodes, right?
yeah,
I think we were originally thinking it's going to take him about 6 episodes to redeem himself, and then the last 2 episodes will be a big battle with somebody.
yeah,
Definitely not. We screwed that up.
yeah,
So
exactly.
we've got 5 more episodes. What is the point of this season?
I don't know. Is it? My thought was supposed to be the unification of Mandalore again. I
We
thought,
could
or
still
at
be
least,
we could still be headed there. We
yeah.
could still be headed there.
I mean, I'm not saying that, not the way of their former glory, but some kind of unification there. Maybe between, um, the, both all the factions. So I don't know. I think we're going to probably deal more with Bo-Katan's, being conflicted of what she's going to do next and what's going on around her. I think you're going to have some. I believe we're going to have more to the story about, the what's the name of it? The children of the Watch.
Children of the
Chil-
Watch
yes,
and Vizsla.
Vizsla. I think we're going to have more. We're going to have more story out of that. So, and I
Mhm.
think that's maybe where we're going to go. I think we spend so time in Coruscant. I love croissants. We spend so much time in Coruscant that I think we might go back to a little bit more of the Child of the Watch
Mhm.
and deal with Bo-Katan and Din and what's going to come out of that. I think we're going to kind of go back and forth unless they end up doing one of the things they did this past, episode 3, where you'll have maybe another sandwich, but this time, there's a different meat.
Mandalorian sandwich.
Yes. So I don't know. At this point, I thought I was doing pretty well up to this point, and this threw me for me a wrench.
Yeah.
And it's going the direction that I was hoping we weren't going to go completely.
Yeah, I know. I was really hoping this season wasn't going to be all about cloning, but it feels
Yeah.
like it is.
Yes, it does. So I've got nothing else. And your thoughts, your predictions of what you think might happen next?
I do think we are going to see some kind of coming to a head of Bo-Katan and Vizsla.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is going to be. I think there will be a major shakeup there.
Yeah.
Not sure how that's going to play out. If Vizsla is going to come to his senses and follow her into battle, or if he's going to have to die for her to take leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that will be. I think that is going to be a thing. But outside of that, I don't know. I don't know where this Coruscant story goes.
I don't know either.
And I don't know how they can wrap that up and have it be worthwhile in the next 5 episodes.
Yeah.
It feels like that should have pointed us to another series.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But there's not another series on the horizon.
No, not anything soon. I mean, I don't know. I can't forget. I don't know when Ahsoka's coming out, but I don't know if it's going to be this year or not. I don't.
don't
I
think so.
can't
If it
remember. I
is,
don't
it's
think
late.
so. It's going to be
Yeah,
late.
yeah. If it is,
Yeah.
it's late this year. But I don't. I'm not. I mean, unless we're going to see her, Elia, whatever her name is, Aaliyah. Unless we're going
Yes.
to see her have a video call with Thrawn,
Yeah.
I don't see how it points to directly to Ahsoka.
The only other thing if we're going to keep everything in canon with the Republic,
Mm,
really, how can you find Thrawn if you can't find Ezra? Not Ezra.
that's
I mean,
true.
because that leads into Ahsoka trying to find Thrawn, my guess, and trying to find Ezra. I keep wanting to say Ezra Miller, but it's not Ezra Miller. But keep trying. Yeah,
Bridger.
but yeah, Ezra Bridgers. But so I don't know. And it could be maybe something happens. They do a lot of things where they keep it in the canon, but they can split it up however they want to. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't know. And I think the next episode is it going to explain what happened to Dr. Pershing? Are we going to continue? I mean, I'm thinking we're going to continue to find out more about the Children of the Watch and Bo-Katan, and
That's a story I want to hear.
I do too.
I'm really not
fascinated
interested. I'm really not interested in Coruscant politics or the cloning part.
I'm not either. I'm really the Mandalore and Mandalorians. I mean, that's really is where it's at.
Yeah.
Did you read a little bit of before we sign off? Did you read a little bit where they were talking about where Grogu's first words is, this is the way? Did you read a little thing about that?
I've seen somebody say
Yeah.
that will be his first words. I
Or
did think it was funny that there was a scene where he kind of burbles something, and they both look at him, and I'm like, are they gonna say something about what he just said? And
Well, they
then
both said this is the way, and then
yeah,
she said this is the way, and then he gurgled something.
yes,
And
and they both
yeah,
look at him, and I'm like, is that what are they gonna say? He just said this is the way, but then they cut away from it.
yeah, yeah. So, well, I up to this point, I've enjoyed the series. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that we continue with the after redemption line. We talk more about the clans of Mandalorian and what's going to happen next with this clan and what's going to come from Din and Bo-Katan's their own faith of their codes and are they going to wane from that? I don't know. So I think there's a lot of good stuff that's coming up. I just hope I'm not in a hurry for the Resistance. I'm not in a hurry for the sequels and all that stuff. So let's slow it down a bit. So I have nothing else. I know that you guys want to check us out. We have our website. It's speakingnerdy.com. We also have Speaking Nerdy /YouTube, I believe, or is it YouTube
/Speaking Nerdy?
Speaking Nerdy, yes, YouTube /Speaking Nerdy. That's where all our content is at. You can also catch us on our audio podcast from Spotify to Apple to any of your favorite channels where you get your audio podcast from. And as always, I think this will be when will this be released? Right now,
I'm aiming for Thursdays.
So we're aiming for Thursdays, and this
will release just after the next episode of The Mandalorian. So
that's right.
The idea is you get an episode of Mandalorian, and then we don't talk about it until the next episode comes out. So
That's right.
hopefully you've already watched it by the time you listen to our show.
Exactly. So anyhow, this is a Speaking Nerdy podcast, and I've got nothing else. You, my friend?
I don't have anything else.
All right. I guess it's time to close it down.
This has been the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe.
Midichlorians.
Midichlorians. Oh, well.
It's all about the midichlorians.
It's all about that midichlorians. That's right.